Yo, what's up, brother?
Oh, nice and early on this beautiful sunny Australian morning, so I can't complain. How about yourself?
Good morning. Yeah, very sunny in this Texas afternoon. So making it happen.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today, mate. I can't believe the new album is nearly out, which what feels like a lifetime ago. Like, man,
We're we're
man.
ready.
I know. How do you get ready for something that's nearly taken 10 years to release? Because I look at myself like 3 years ago and I was a different person. So, how much have you guys changed over this course of time?
Well, I think it's more like we never thought it was ever going to happen again.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's more like just a full-on cannonball. We're just making it happen and doing the best that we can, and we're loving life. We got to travel to Australia, which I never thought I'd
Yes.
get to do again, and making sure we pick all our favorite spots.
No, that's a good way about doing it. How was it? Like, just we'll touch on it real quickly. Like getting that phone call to get the guys and get all you guys back together again. Like you said, you did the farewell tour. My wife always talks about it, going, "I went to their last show," and so she was very happy when you guys came back. She definitely wasn't complaining. She,
Yeah, those liars, they pulled the rug out. No, we were done, and we couldn't, you know, life happens, and we just thought we weren't going to be able to do life as Yellow Card again. And so when that phone call came in, I was like, "You guys are kidding me! Like this is not happening. It doesn't make sense. We sold all the gear. How does it happen? Like, it's not just like, are you sure? Why? But it's like, how do we even do it, right? So, but I think, you lean into it. You got a good support system. We have an incredible manager, our booking agent. She's been there since the beginning. And me personally, I had a, corporate gig, and they were like, "Hey, just trust us. Like, let's have fun. We don't really have to know all the answers right now." And in my life, Ocean Avenue has, changed my life,
yeah.
drastically, right? I went from dropping out of college, trying to write songs and get on the Warp Tour with our friends. Like that's the iceberg.
Yeah.
And we looked at an opportunity to play Ocean Avenue for, a pretty big festival, and it turned into a spark, and the spark became a fire, and here we are kind of getting ready to put Better Days out with Travis Barker. So it's like I mean, it's surreal and it's unbelievable, and I just am loving every minute of it.
No, that's what you love to hear as well. And speaking of Better Days, the music video itself, was there any kind of arguments back and forth on who got to play who on that one? Because I don't know, you got lucky with being Daniel, Karate Kid,
Yeah.
Ryan was Maverick, but I don't know, there's some cool characters in that one.
Well, I wanted to do Maverick and Goose. I thought, Ryan and I always been, kind of man in the van and the whole ship. But um, I wanted to be Christian Slater in Gleaming the Cube.
Oh,
And
yeah.
once we figured out how big the video was going to be, I was like, I better do something maybe a little bit more well known. So I thought Daniel LaRusso
Yeah.
would take it home.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. But like, it's a fun video and it's good because this type of music, like, there's not a lot of bands coming out that kind of sound like you guys, or it's all almost nostalgia acts now. Like, it does it feel good to kind of get out there and play and see people that wouldn't have even been born when Ocean Avenue came out in the crowd? Is that surreal? Like, that's got to be weird, right?
It's funny because you walk into a store in the States, and they got the sign that says, "Hey, if you're born, 2004, you can buy alcohol," and like that just blows my mind, right? So, um, and I think it puts it into perspective because we play songs, and some of them were written, before some people were born,
Yeah.
which is it's a trip. And then some people come to the shows and they are finding a newer generation of Yellow Card.
Mm.
And so I don't have to control and pick that. I'm leaning into I don't have to make all the decisions. Like, let's just have a good time, right? So I want to make sure that however people consume our music, once they come to the show, they're having the best time. That's the best part of this chapter of Yellow Card.
No, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. But let's go back even further than that because I like it. I try to collect all the violinists in different bands that I've interviewed.
Yeah,
So that's why I was really
yeah,
looking forward to this
yeah,
one.
totally.
How did that come to be? Because, like, it's even describing it when Yellow Card was first coming up. So, oh, well, what do you play in the band? Like guitar, drums? No, I'm the violinist. Like,
Yeah.
how did you get that across? Like, to one, get the violin in the band because it's not really heard of, especially back then, and two, like, just kind of like, did you drive that forward? Was that just the first instrument you learnt, or was something you really wanted to experiment with?
Yeah, I'm just a lead guitar player trapped in a violinist body. That's all. No, I went to art school
Mm,
and I grew up playing classical. My mom played violin. She made me play. I tried to quit every day. I was like, "Yo, this ain't isn't cool." And she was like, "Well, if you're gonna live in my house, you have to play violin." And she was kind of like laid it down. And when I went to high school, we went to art school. That's where Yellow Card was formed out of this, unusual education program. It was public school, but you had to audition and get there. And
mm,
so, Ryan was in the music theater program, and he was an actor. And some of the other original guys, they were in jazz band and whatnot. And we just listened to that same sort of genre of like late 90s skate punk,
yeah.
and we would go to the shows and we would have some milk and cookies and some shenanigans after school. And so like that's our group of friends. But there was no judgment there. I was learning Chris Shiflett, No Use for a Name, Metallica, Guns N' Roses slash solos on the violin. And
Yeah.
we ended up just writing our own brand of songs. And when you look at production for any type of artist, they have obviously their basic instruments. You have your drums, guitar, bass, vocals, but oftentimes there's production value or keys and string
Oh,
arrangement. And
yeah.
so, we have the guitarmony part where it's like lead guitar, violin kind of split and harmonize or octave. But I also get to add and arrange for string arrangement. So it brings the depth of our produced sound to the live show. And I think, you know, it's not uncommon to hear that. You just don't see it live. And here I am, and it's job security.
Yeah, there you go. And you're actually right. Now that I think about it, there's so many songs like everything has got like keys added to it or violins or string arrangements, but you actually just get to stand there front and center showing that, no, no, I'm actually playing this on the album. We're doing it live. So yeah, no, come to think about it, yeah, you're kind of right. But
Just an honest representation. We want to
yeah.
bring we want to bring that to the fans. The people need to know.
Was it ever hard with the studio, like getting in there, the producers back in the early days being like, oh, why you got a violinist in the band? That doesn't work. We can just put that in later. You don't need to take this guy out on tour. Was that ever a fight you had, or was it a bit easier than that?
Yeah, no record label or producers were ever like, hey, this is not going to work. I don't see how this
Mm,
works. It's always I've always been a part of the band.
yep.
And my natural athletic talents led me to pretty mediocre live show. But we always give it our all. And but I think that there's definitely some challenges, right?
Mm,
And I think you can see opportunity in every challenge. And we've definitely ran into the wall where it's like, are we forcing, a violin part here?
mm,
Does it round out the song? And something that I've challenged myself with is trying to always make sure that I add something to a song, not just because I want to play in a certain section. Like it definitely
yeah.
has to add. And I don't want to take away, from the song. I don't want to, conflict with, the vocal or the guitar or the bass as well. So we write with the violin in mind. Some parts are easier than others, but um, make no mistake, it's part of our band. And everybody thinks about it, right? Like
Yeah.
when the producers are in, they're like, man, do we have a moment for this, right? So I want to pick a moment. I want to make it special.
No, beautiful. And we're getting back to doing the new album as well. Did you have to shake off any like ring rust? Because, you said you'd done a corporate job, you sold the gear. Were you still kind of rehearsing, practicing the violin, or was this riding a bike again? You just never forgot? Or was there a bit of rust where you're like, oh, okay, kind of got to get back into the feel?
It's funny. It's like there was in 2023 there was some like rust fear.
Mm,
There was like this like, okay, where do we go? Where do we pick up? I didn't play violin for a long time after 2017. We all in our own way had to mourn like the loss of Yellowcard, right? And so I didn't play for a long time. It just every time I, picked it up, I I was reminded of those emotions. It goes right back, the sound, just the idea of playing the violin. So, um, I mean, I play, guitar, ukulele, mandolin. So I've had
Yeah.
other musical outlets, right? But in 22, 23, when we started picking it back up, it was a little bit of muscle memory. There was also some like, oh, let's remember how we do this. Like, what are we doing here? And then I think it quickly became something like, hey, on this version of Yellow Card, like we all collectively want to be the best version of ourselves. We don't want to have, those old battle scars, right? And
Mm.
so going into the studio for Better Days, it was like every part, especially with Travis there, right? Like you just
Yeah.
wanted every part to be the best part, right? So, when you got a guy that's the best drummer in the history of drums and he's, doing his best for your song, like I'd be damned if I didn't do the best for my songs too.
Was it ever daunting getting in there with Travis? Because it's not just that he's, like you said, the best drummer. He's an icon at this point in time. Like very few musicians, like you can become, a legend, but when time goes and years pass and we're dead and gone, right? Some people get forgotten about. Travis, I think, has fallen in that category of he's immortalized in the music history. So was it ever daunting, or do you guys just go way back and it was like an old friend?
I had never met Travis,
Oh wow.
and so this was like kind of our first. I think through the Warp Tour and the touring circuit, I think we were in each other's orbit, like generally aware.
Mm.
Obviously, we looked up to him. I mean, you'd have to ask him if he was like if we were on his radar, but he the first moment was when we came into like to be that we were going to write with him. I definitely had like a mirror moment where it was like, hey, just be yourself. Like, don't like we're just writing songs. Like, don't get too nervous. But after that, like, and a credit to him in a good number of ways, he ended up being, the executive producer for this Better Days project. And I don't know if he went out of his way. I it just seemed so genuine that he was kind and he, wanted to make time for everyone. And it never looked like he punched into the job and left like he had other stuff to do. He was hands on, touching everything, wanted to be a part of it, wanted to lead the conversation, wanted to make sure everything was heard. And not a lot of people have that gift or maybe even the self awareness to care. And so, like, Travis wore all those hats in a way that, I mean, I've met people that do the same sort of line of work and they do it not as well, right? And
Yeah.
Travis was, it just showcases the depth of the talent and how big his heart is, and the fact that he chose to work on our project. It just, it means so much to us.
No, I love to hear that. Well, let's end this one on a bit of a tricky one for you because I'm going to make you pick one. Do you have a favorite song off the album or a song you're dying to play live for people to hear?
I don't normally pick my favorite child, but I will do that for you today. Um, I, I think Better Days is just a special song for
Mm,
us.
mm.
Title track. It is our first number one radio single here in the States.
Wow.
It's charting top 10 in Germany right now. And after all the Ocean Avenues and the Only One and Yellow Card songs in all of the land, this is our first number one. So you always remember your first. And I'm excited for people to hear a rock ballad called You Broke Me Too. It does feature Avril Lavigne. I just think, in that sort of rock ballad space with the strings, I think, Yellow Card writes big rock ballads. And
Yeah.
with Avril singing over the top, I cannot wait for people to hear that song. And so those are my two early picks from the record.
I do like that, you guys, because sometimes people hide that the features coming out, but you guys were like, "Yep, we've got Avril Lavigne on a song." And kids like myself who grew up, I was in high school when Ocean Avenue came out. It's kind of like man, you're kind of making us wait for that one. That's like the biggest throwback song you could ever do. But no, it's exciting, and the album's fantastic. I've had the chance to listen to it, so well done,
Wow, thank you.
and congratulations after all these years and hitting number one. That's a special talent. But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Cannot wait for the album to come out, and hopefully we see you back down under sooner rather than later.
I love it down there. I can't wait to come back.
No,
Thanks for your
beautiful.
time.
Thank you, Sean. Have a great day. Ta.
Thanks, brother.